When I found out I was going to be a parent, I immediately felt a lot of anxiety and worry. So I went on to BetterHelp to try to look for a therapist to help me with that.
My relationship with my family and with my boyfriend and with myself were suffering. I really needed help.
I was ruminating a lot. Really getting those thoughts out to a therapist and getting feedback was just life-changing.
Discover what BetterHelp Online Therapy can do for you. Visit BetterHelp.com today.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Kieran Boyle, the San Francisco 49ers finished third in the NFC West. That was good enough to take them to the playoffs, where despite a horror show of a list of injuries, and we talked about this many, many times last season, they still performed more than creditably and got a lot further than a lot of people expected. You spent most of last season going, well, if they get everybody fit, this is a formidable team. Looking at where the NFC West is this season, and you have arguably, as we finish things up at the end of 2026, the two best teams in the NFL also in the division. Maybe we put an asterisk beside the Seahawks, and we'll get to them a little bit later because of the departures there. Are they really at the level? In fairness to them, they're the Super Bowl champions, so they get the benefit of the doubt until proven wrong. With the moves the Rams have made, and again, easy to be kings of the offseason, you're looking at this 49ers roster and going, wow, have they actually done enough to keep pace? You drop them in any other division pretty much in the NFL, and you'd be very confident in them contending for, if not winning the division. But this NFC West is, this is the kickboxer scene with the glass on the knuckles and the glue here.
Yeah, I mean, this is like you said, it's going to be a dogfight towards the tail end of the season with all three of these teams. I mean, a nice turnaround last year. I mean, obviously 24 was not quite a disaster, but it was pretty brutal for the 49ers. Turned it around nicely. Obviously when Christian McCaffrey's out there catching and running for, over 2,000 scrimmage yards, then, things are going to go pretty good for you. And 17 touchdowns thrown in there too. But if you're the 49ers, and especially Shanahan, the lasting impression, the lasting image of the season of 25 was that drubbing by the Rams, and they looked tired. You look at the safeties in the corners, Lenoir and what's the other guy's name, Renardo Green. I mean, they all looked just bet from beating the Eagles previously. So it was as much as they would have taken it at the start of the season. That's the lasting image they have now. And when you look not in the rearview mirror, but you look straight ahead and you got the Rams and Seahawks, then, is 12-5 going to be enough for 26? So a lot of factors in play. I mean, they bolster the roster. Obviously the big splash is Mike Evans coming in. George Kittle, a lot of people saying he will be ready by week 1. We'll see. It could be week 2, 3 before we start seeing him, maybe into October. A nice little addition with Christian Kirk. So they've made some nice pickups on offense. Back comes Dre Greenlaw, Fred. I mean, like I said, the brutal list of injuries with Warner and Bosa and Michael Williams going down. They all should be back. It should be a much healthier kind of defensive unit.
And Kieran, to that point, if we were talking about trades, if a team had added Bosa and Warner during the offseason, you'd be saying, wow, they instantly become contenders. That's effectively what the 49ers are doing. They're getting those two players back, provided that they've recovered fully, which we hope they have.
Right, absolutely. And they're the banner players, but people sleep. I don't want to say sleep, but Michael Williams is still a huge addition to that defense too. And when he went down early, that really affected them. But I mean, you have to be optimistic if you're a 49ers fan, and you have to be confident about them going toe to toe with the big dogs, and they have to class themselves as a big dog in this division because, like we saw with the Rams and Seahawks in the tail end, there's a game dividing. There's just a game between these two teams, and other factors at play. Purdy missed a chunk of the season, but when he was playing at an All-Pro level and thrown throwing the ball left, right, and center. I think he had 20 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, threw for over 2,000 yards in 9 games. So he was on pace for a 4,000-yard season too, if he was healthy the whole time. I've come around on him a little bit. I know I've been critical of him in the past. He got paid, and he's shown his value in what he got paid. Doesn't turn the ball over as much. I know he had 10 interceptions, but he was a lot cleaner when he came back from that injury. Very effective on 3rd and 4th downs, keeping those drives going, which is huge, obviously, in the NFL. I thought they were going to bolster up the defense a little bit, especially the secondary. Like I said, in that game, in that playoff game, Lenore and Renardo Green just looked beaten up and battered. They got smoked on a lot of plays, and that's probably the one weakness I see with the Niners right now, because you look around and it's health. It looks like health is coming back to the team. Notwithstanding, you got the sideshow of what Ayuk is doing on social media and what he's going to decide to do, or what the Niners or Lynch will even decide to do. But it's a revamped wide receiver room. How will Purdy deal with that? A lot of new faces. The O-line, can they be consistent? I mean, you have a Trent Williams who's going to be 38 when the season starts. Can you keep going back to the well with him? Will Kittle be ready for week 1? Will it be week 2 or 3? Kind of similar to the Malik Neighbors situation in New York. Are they just keeping it quiet so they don't want to scare people? And the other thing to put into play is the amount of travel. And I don't want to downplay it, because these guys, and especially, if we're going to an 18-game season soon, that's going to be a huge toll. I mean, I saw the Niners are going to travel 38,105 miles over the course of the season. I mean, we know they're going to Australia, they're going to Mexico City, they're going to a whole bunch of places on the East Coast. They got to play the Commanders. It's a really tough kind of pill to swallow, and it's just another kind of obstacle in the way. But with all that said, I'm high on the Niners. I think Evans is a huge addition. Purdy, if he can stay healthy and keep that turf toe under control, I think they're going to have a really strong season. I think they're going to be pushing the 2 powerhouses, we'll call them, the Seahawks and the Rams. I think they're going to be pushing them all the way in the division.
And Kieran and Donovan, you can't ask more of a team and of a coaching staff than to get the absolute best out of the players that they have available to them. Like, there's no argument but that the Niners did that last season. Like, this coaching staff is a coaching staff you can believe in. Yeah, Robert Saleh has gone out the door, but they've only gone and replaced him with Raheem Morris, who's making the same journey that Robert Saleh made with the Niners last season. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch tend to know what they're doing when they bring people into that building. That's why so many of the Niners coaches go on to success elsewhere.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that the 49ers have proven season after season, is that they're one of the best coached teams in the league, because very few teams would have been able to cope with the level of injuries that you guys just mentioned. And I think coming into a season, especially at this so early in the preseason, it's not, I mean, we're not even talking about preseason yet. We're still in the off season, or whatever you want to call it. You have to give teams the benefit of the doubt and make your predictions based on the assumption that they're all going to be healthy, because we absolutely don't know who's going to make it to the start of the season, what's going to happen in the first few weeks. So exactly as you said, you're getting these guys like Bosa back, who you didn't have last year. You know, if you can imagine a 49ers team with the best version of Bosa, the best version of George Kittle, the best version again even of a Christian Kirk, who's coming in, who had a great season in the slot in 2022 with the Jags, down season last year with Houston, but he's a guy in the slot who can be a weapon for Brock Purdy. You've got Mike Evans, who you can push the ball to and contest all kinds of catches. Ricky Pearsall as well, who's proven himself as more than a serviceable wide receiver. He's been, he can be an absolute stud, especially if you've got Mike Evans on the other side taking attention. So on one hand, you're so excited about what this team can be, and then I'll caveat what I said by thinking you're still going to have that. The last couple of seasons consistently, it just has been injuries that have beaten the 49ers. And I take Kieran's point about the travel. I mean, that's a factor as well. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason to see how the 49ers can't put it up to these teams in the league. You look at the players that they brought in versus the players they've lost. I think they're one of the teams in the division who has, you look at Dre Greenlaw coming in, Jack Jones. You talked about the secondary, Ashton Davies, Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, and they're not, they're losing Joanne Jennings, they're losing a few bodies, but I think they've definitely strengthened that squad. They've definitely strengthened the potential of the squad. And as you said, you get to bring back those two guys who were complete absentees last year. So it's just a question as to whether the heavyweights that finished ahead of them last season, albeit by a very, very fine margin, whether they run it back again. And, we're going to get to the Rams. The Rams are the team that everyone's talking about at the moment. I think it's the Seahawks that will prove they'll prove. I think we're probably going to get to the Rams in a while, and it'll be no surprise that I think we'll all have the Rams kind of out there ahead of everyone else with the bodies that they brought in. I think the Seahawks 49ers race for second, if you will be a really, really deciding factor in those two games when they have to play each other. Let's see how they turn out and who comes out on and who gets the best of that battle. The 49ers may well target the Seahawks as a team that they can get over, and jump that hurdle to boost themselves and make a playoff run this season.
Shane, the Niners won 12 games last year. You do look at the consensus forecast this year, and they're being predicted in the 9.5, 10 win zone. So people are saying they'll get players back. They've made roster additions, but they're going to win fewer games. And part of that, to be fair, comes down to something that you called out when we were kind of wrapping up at the end of last season, which is the NFC West was matched up with the NFC South last year. So they all got like basically 2 or 3 wins, not for free, so you can go and play the games, but they all have tougher schedules this year around. So when people are looking at this division, and you got to see every team in the context of the division, as I mentioned earlier on, if you put the 49ers in a lot of other divisions, they'd probably be the favorites to win. But it's the maths that people are doing right now is 3 into 2 doesn't go. You saw 3 teams come out of this division go to the playoffs last year. It's unlikely that you're going to see 3 12-win teams come out of this division this year just because of the tougher schedules that they've got. A lot of people are seeing that the 49ers, or at least the betting market sees the 49ers as the third of those 3 teams. But I mean, to a point that Kieran Donovan was just making, and we'll get to the Seahawks in a little bit. Seahawks lose Kenneth Walker, they lose Boye Mafe, they lose Tariq Woolen, they lose Kobe Bryant. Clint Kubiak is gone as their OC. I think there's an argument to be made that if there's only 2 teams coming out of this division, that the 49ers could actually be one of them.
I agree with you that the rate of change in San Francisco is probably more of a positive type of change than the rate of change that's happened in Seattle. And Seattle obviously coming from a slightly higher grade of Super Bowl champions, but still that will make that battle tricky later on. But that match that Kieran pointed to there, the matchups that are going to come against Seahawks are going to be critical. The second one of those, the one that's going to be in Santa Clara, of course, the scene of the Seahawks victory in Super Bowl 60, is going to come the week after the 49ers take a home game to Mexico City. And just on the schedule point as well, based on what I think all of you have touched on at different points, it's not the NFC South they're playing, it's the NFC East and the AFC West. So there's no easy games there. And you look at the tough run that the 49ers have, on top of we'll talk about the implications of going to Australia. I'm very much looking forward to going there myself. I think it's the first time I've said that on the air, but I'm very much looking forward to heading down there. The fact that it is so early in the week and it's in week 1.
We're looking forward to having you as well, Shane. As they should be.
Having me the other side of the world. I know. I'm only messing. But we'll talk about the effect it has. I mean, yes, there's a lot of air miles, but it's the first week of the season. They then the extra rest days coming into the following week. But it's that game in Mexico City, I think, that I could end up being triggered, because on top of us still you're probably still not having completely unpacked your bags from the long trip to Trans-Pacific. Then you have to go play a home game on a Sunday night, and it's at the Sunday night game. It's not even like you're going to London and you get to get on a plane so early enough on Sunday. It's a late one, and then you have to host the Seahawks then the following week. Then you have to go to New York. Then you have to host the Rams. Then you have to go to the LA Chargers. Then you have to go to Arrowhead. Then you have to host the Philadelphia Eagles before you get a nice easy one on the last day against the Cardinals. But that's still an incredibly tough run in the wintertime. And by that point, how fit is this squad going to be? The talent there that's in San Francisco is, I would say, better than the stocks out if we have in Seattle, if we're making a direct comparison between the two. But again, and the coaching staff, again, Raheem Morris, I think, is an excellent acquisition. Everyone was looking back saying, oh, well, if Salah's gone, the defense is throwing back, because one of the things we saw last year in the 49ers is that they became very streaky. They were a win-loss type team during October, most of November. It was the defense that managed to get a lot of that over the line. And in fairness to Mac Jones, obviously still playing well at the early part of the season, I have no real worries about this offense, even if Kittle doesn't come back fit or if he's still out later on. It's the defense that, again, I'm really, really worried about in terms of fitness, but also in terms of being able to really get rhythm in. I mean, even you look at the draft picks, if Nick Bosa is out at the start of the season, you're probably looking at the third rounder Romello Height coming in there, but he's had a lot of shoulder injuries in college coming in, so there's still a lot of some worries about him as well. And even just across there aren't any sort of, if Fred Warner stays fit, you can probably be confident going forward. If Dre Greenlaw stays fit, but there's a big if, and they just don't have a good record on health. So look, it's like the 49ers, excuse me, and we were mentioning this during the season last year, even heading into their playoff run. They can be the biggest what if team in the league, and that if they stay fit, then there's nothing to stop them. But add in the record to having fitness, plus the fact that the defense might have to play in a way which is extra physical, which might grind down a bit, plus the schedule, not just the flights, but all the really tough teams to play against. There isn't a single team in that post Mexico City stretch in November, December that isn't a tough physical side to play against. I mean, having to go to MetLife to play against the Harbaugh Giants, who I think might be in the playoff run, now that's a lot tougher than the strength of schedule stats would show, for instance. You know what I mean? That's one of those games that is going to be different in comparison to if the same groups of teams played last year. So look, I think it's going to be difficult. But one group, the offense, I have less worries about in terms of the talent of Brock Purdy, and if the offensive line has got to keep it tight. I think the wide receivers might have a bit more in them than. I think that they're going to have something extra up their sleeve, and they might realize that they need to be a bit more creative offensively to keep up with the Rams. But as long as those defensive players stay fit, I think the 49ers could really be in the chase, not only for getting on top of the Seahawks, but trying to keep the pressure on LA as well. And they're going to really want to lay down a marker in Australia in the first game.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.